The Amazon region is one of the most climate-sensitive parts of the world, yet it is also a critical part of our planetary ecosystem infrastructure. According to NASA, the Amazon rainforest is a central pump of the global water cycle. Unfortunately, due to the deforestation, the Amazon is facing an ecological tipping point, and its function as a pump may soon stop.
Parts of the Amazon, in southern Amazon, are becoming a carbon source. I'm not talking about deforestation. The mortality rate of typically wet climate tree species is increasing. So all those elements are telling us we are very, very close to this tipping point of savanization.
Due to its global significance, many people assume that the Amazon rainforest is the top focus of global philanthropy. That perception is wrong. Americans each year donate over $400 billion to charity. According to a 2020 report by the World Bank, only about $100 million of private philanthropy is spent on the Amazon rainforest conservation each year. That equals not 2%, but just 0.02% of American philanthropy.
We don't recognize the inherent and symbiotic nature of the relationship between human beings and the natural environment. And the Amazon, of course, is so critical to our ability to survive and thrive on this planet. I mean, the work to protect forests and other natural areas can get us 1/3 of the way to the urgent goal to keep global warming within 1.5 degrees.
Global philanthropy is failing the Amazon, and as a result, we're at risk of losing the ecosystem to a deforestation tipping point that could put hundreds of billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The process could disrupt global rain patterns, cause mass extinctions, destroy major breadbaskets, dry up water tables of major cities, and much more.
A Amazônia deve ser preservada independente dos retornos financeiros que ela traz, responsável pela não saturação dos oceanos, porque coloca cerca de 20% da água doce que vai para os oceanos, e se for destruída esse estoque de carbono de 250 bilhões de toneladas que poderão ser lançadas na atmosfera e desequilibrar o planeta.
For it to work, local, traditional Amazonians need to be in charge of sustainable, commercial processes that are integrated with international climate-smart markets and finance. How can we bring this vision into reality? Let's take a look. 1. Governance and the rule of law. 2. Bioeconomy development. 3. Carbon markets. 4. Blended finance. 5. Permanent protection areas. Grant makers have an instrumental role in supporting processes and NGOs that ensure governance and the rule of law in the Amazon region. The strategies range from research and advocacy to investigative journalism in the empowerment of indigenous communities through technology and training. One historic grant, for example, from the Ford Foundation, helped to finance the digitization of land registries to prevent further land grabbing. Grants from the Open Society Foundation and others support the Igarape Institute to study government policies and develop recommendations for engagement.
For this region, we need to understand who is responsible for what in the public sector and what are the changes that might affect my business. So I join up forces, be with civil society, be with multi-stakeholder coalitions. So going alone today is very hard.
These recommendations must consider the local context in a bottom-up approach in partnership with traditional communities.
Aqui no estado, eu estou representando a FUNERU, Associação das Comunidades Negras Rurais do Estado do Maranhão, mas represento também como quebradeiros de coco, né? Que é uma das produções que nós trabalhamos aqui como quilombola e extrativista.
Bioeconomy development needs philanthropy as well to help with research, training, market development, and more. Deforestation-free commerce is one example. The Arapiao Institute funded Map Biomass to develop technologies that map historic land use change and help boycotts of products that originate from recently deforested areas.
the numbers that we have from Mapiomas, where we map all the land use changes in the last 35 years, show that only 1% of the deforestation is happening on the lands that are protected by forest people. It's more protected than the national parks and things like that.
In the region, historic government and philanthropic budgets have supported significant scientific research, but that knowledge still needs to be transformed into business models that benefit locals.
Criando base como se fosse uma indústria para essas pessoas que estão construindo vender nesse espaço e a indústria se responsabilizar, catalogar, fazer toda a logomarca e exportar para o mundo um alimento que é produzido sustentável, saudável.
3 additional philanthropic needs in bioeconomy development include: A. Supporting sector-wide data sharing and go-to-market efficiencies. B. Strengthening entrepreneurial support programs such as incubators and accelerators. C. Advancing bioeconomy policies that create tax incentives and other enabling conditions for the sector.
To reduce deforestation in the Amazon is not an issue of police only. Yes, we need more police, but it's changed the development pathway to a paradigm of making the forest-based bioeconomy prospering and bringing and lifting people out of poverty. And that's where I see the role of this coalition.
Carbon markets are also an active target of Amazon philanthropy. While such markets mobilize billions of dollars globally, they are largely unregulated, and the Amazon and forest communities are unprotected. Sometimes, northern investors earn profits, while local Amazonians lack access to healthcare. As a result, donors support efforts to strengthen indigenous participation in carbon market design processes.
Cuando ustedes hablan de económicamente la venta de carbono, para los indígenas no es solo carbono. Ese ecosistema es un vida, un ser vivo.
As the Avena Foundation advocates, more support is needed to help designate the traditional forest-friendly commerce of locals as legitimate climate mitigation investing.
That if we're serious about a sustainable future, we need to put the people who know and who live in harmony with nature at the center, as teachers and guiders for the future.
For blended finance, philanthropy is key. As a form of risk capital, philanthropy can serve as a catalyst to mobilize private sector investment, making it possible to reach scale, which is essential given the size of the Amazon. Donor money has been used as first loss capital, as well as for loan guarantees. It has even been used to subsidize debt for investment vehicles like Connexus Investment Fund, which works to educate Amazonian lenders and extend rural credit programs to Amazonian producers.
This is the beginning of financial education for these organizations. 90% of those have never got credit before. So this is kind of growing a market with them. And I think the best lessons learned we've got is the importance of technical systems at this level.
Permanent protection areas are among the most popular philanthropic targets of Amazonian donors with creation of nature reserves. A practice known as Project Finance for Permanence has mobilized hundreds of millions of dollars for governments to create permanent protection areas that are supported by private money and secured as national parks, wild harvesting reserves, and more. The Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, for example, helped to fund the Brazilian Amazon Region Protected Area Program, known as ARPA. In the future, such protection areas could make use of both carbon and blended financing arrangements.
The Project Finance for Permanence are basically sinking funds whereby a set of donors get together and work directly with governments to create a fund where there's an initial input of resources from the donors that are used to fund the management of a set of protected areas.
Northern donors sometimes have restrictions about funding in South America. Uncertain of who to trust or how to assess impact, donors can work through regranters that have thematic and geographic expertise. One example is Fundo Casa, which specializes in making small grants to grassroots communities.
We have a social technology, let's say, of managing grants. So we receive grants. So anybody who would like to invest in a certain area, in a certain kind of way that respects, of course, our mission, we can work with them.
Another example is Institute for Climate and Society, a philanthropic regranter that connects international funders with local partners working on climate.
And we are also grant making for specific philanthropists who need a mechanism to do so. Most of our work is grant making. Like 85% of our resources are fully donated to other implementers, mostly civil society organizations in Brazil.
In addition to offering regranter referrals, we support new Amazon donors by connecting them to philanthropic mentors. Staff from grant makers like the Malago Foundation have offered to provide philanthropic mentoring to new conservation-minded philanthropists. Most people that already got involved in the Amazon describe the experience as being life-changing.
And I left really devastated. You see the news and you know what's going on in the world, but when you're in the midst of people telling you they're afraid of dying and they don't want to go extinct, it's a whole other level of humanity.
And after such powerful personal experience, many of them have already started blending capital and deploying it to the Amazon region.
I knew how grassroots people, traditional people, can do so much with so little because I witnessed that on the ground for so long.
To help more donors learn more and engage with the Amazon, we offer access to podcasts and historic research on the region, and we invite them to philanthropic learning expeditions. We also make funding recommendations and connect new grantmakers with new prospective grantees. Donors are also invited to put their philanthropic capital to work as part of blended finance arrangements that support long-term purchase contracts between local Amazonian farmers and global corporate off-takers. Join us to get involved in the Amazon and make your mark on climate today. Visit AmazonInvestor.org.